Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Illustration Department podcast. My name is Giuseppe Castellano. In this podcast, I talk to folks in illustration, graphic design, publishing, animation, and other creative fields about their work, the lessons they've learned, and the bumps and bruises they've experienced along the way. In this episode, my guest is Caldecott Medal-winning illustrator Cátia Chien. Well-meaning family members tend to have career plans for us artists that don't align with our own. Cátia and I talk about navigating that tension. Among other topics, we discuss what she's learned about balancing her personal and artistic lives. She explains how the nervous system and the creative process are intertwined. And Cátia shares what basic, boring advice every artist should follow. I hope you enjoy our conversation. I don't do video.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
First of all, nobody wants to see my face. And secondly, I don't want to have to put that on guests.
Okay.
Being interviewed and having your voice recorded, having to come up with answers and things is already, there's already a little bit of pressure there. Now you have to brush your hair, and wash your face, and brush your teeth. No thanks. I'm out on that. So. In 2004, you earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in illustration with honors. Nice job. From the Art Center College of Design. Mm-hmm. That name always bugs me a little bit. The Art Center College of Design. Shouldn't it just be called this College of Art and Design or something? Or the Center of Art and Design?
Center of Art and Design College.
Wouldn't that make more sense?
Yeah. I mean, what's your thinking around that?
Well, it's Art Center. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's an art center. Cool. Which one would think includes design.
Right.
Art includes design. So it's the Art Center. Okay, cool. I got it. Of Pasadena would make more sense.
Mm. I mean, you've seen the building and what the building looks like.
Sure. I've been there. Yeah. I've talked to students there.
Right. And so do you feel like it feels like because I feel like it's pretty, it's stripped down, right?
It's intimate.
Uh-huh.
Would you say that?
Intimate. I don't know that
smaller?
I would say that it's intimate. I would just say that it's a little bit industrial. So there's a way in which Art Center makes sense.
That's a good point.
Never thought about it.
Just the Art Center.
Yeah.
Or ACD for short. I digress. Your first job out of school was doing color styling with Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
So explain color styling for the people and for me. And what show or shows were you working on? I ask because I worked on Nickelodeon books at the same time.
Oh, really? Nickelodeon books. Interesting. Actually, it's really quite boring. I mean, I was working on the show Danny Phantom, and doing color styling meant that you would essentially just, it's sort of a paint by numbers kind of thing. I mean, you get to decide what the colors are, but it's get the paint bucket and then click and color things in, but you don't get to really design much.
Right.
So it's really just a little bit of color theory, but even not that much. I didn't love it, but it was a job out of school, and it was nice because I got it right around the holidays, and so I had a lot of parties that I got to go to right away, which is interesting.
Sure.
So yeah, that's it. It really wasn't much to it.
You had to follow a style guide, right? Like Danny's CMYK breakdown or Pantone breakdowns, that kind of thing? Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's the main characters that you have to keep consistent, but there's also the incidentals that you got to kind of play around with. Mm-hmm. But yeah, otherwise it's pretty straightforward, kind of assembly line kind of deal. Yeah, we worked with the animation studio, sort of the animation design or creative. They called it creative services at the time. I don't know if they still call it that. At Nickelodeon. And so we would be provided all of these style guides for all of the shows. Interestingly enough, we didn't do Danny Phantom.
Okay.
But we did, SpongeBob and Dora and Wild Thornberries and Rugrats and all these other ones. And so we'd be given these beautifully designed style guides, these huge like binders, but they were, the production value was elite. And then each character had their own breakdowns. And then we had suggestions on like secondary characters, props, examples of how to paint backgrounds. And then this is all stuff that we as designers had to learn and then pass on to the illustrators who were doing like essentially the copy art. We didn't call it copy art back then. We called it media tie-in illustration.
Okay.
For the shows. Some tangential way we were sort of connected.
Yeah.
Because they were getting all that information from, I assume, you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. How did you get into that?
Fell right into it, honestly. Didn't even know I was going to be doing it until I got the job, but was going to be an editorial illustrator, or at least was planning on it when I was at RISD. And then senior year, changed my mind. I guess I wanted a full-time job and insurance and things.
Yeah.
And so a teacher, Judy Sue Goodwin Sturgis, who's now an agent, she was an agent back then too, pointed me in the children's book direction.
Oh.
And started looking for jobs using the internet, which was very young at the time. I don't know if anyone remembers monster.com. I don't even know if they're still around. But, started looking at publishing houses and seeing if they had job openings. One thing led to another. I ended up becoming a design assistant at Simon & Schuster right after college. And I didn't even know Nickelodeon was part of the diverse kinds of books that I would be working on. But yeah, started working on that and loved every second of it.
Really? Oh, yeah.
It was great.
Wow. Nice.
I love working on media tie-in stuff.
Okay.
Especially Wild Thornberrys. I mean, I enjoyed watching the show as well. So, I wasn't the target audience, but I still loved it. So then this is 2004 or 5.
Yeah.
So 22 years after Nickelodeon, you won the Caldecott Medal for Fireworks, which is a picture book for folks who aren't familiar, written by Matthew Burgess about two siblings who experience the beauty of the 4th of July in New York City. I have to say, Katya, 4th of July, first of all, is my favorite holiday.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Halloween's a close second.
Okay.
I think I just like the community element of both. Like you're celebrating with strangers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, interesting. July 4th. I think for me, it would be Lunar New Year, my favorite holiday. I don't know that I truly celebrate July 4th. I mean, I love fireworks and actually the book itself is meant to not be necessarily just July 4th. And that's why the book doesn't have the explicit elements that make it July 4th. And it's supposed to be much more inclusive than that. And that's intentional that way.
Oh, yeah.
But for me, because I was born in Brazil and traveled everywhere, and I have family in Taiwan, and, I'm a mixed culture kid. So there is just, I think that I have a lot of, like, my memories of fireworks comes from going to Taiwan and then being on the rooftop of my grandfather's apartment. And because in Taiwan, a lot of times, like in Taipei, it's where he lived, the buildings there are really kind of small and squashed together. And there's not much, you kind of go vertical, if you want to get some more space. And so he lived in this apartment complex, and then on the rooftop, no guardrails either, which I don't really quite understand. But kids would just get up there, and just remembering, because I'm the baby of 3, and my brother is 7. Oh, okay. And my brother is 7 years older than I, and he would get, I don't know where he would get these firecrackers, but some of them were illegal, I'm sure. And we would just, that was the Lunar New Year experience, being in Taiwan and having these solo adventures with, my sister, my brother, and my cousins, and firecrackers and fireworks.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's a complicated historical element to the 4th of July.
Yes.
And as a son of immigrants, my parents are from Italy. They came over here at the same age you came over from Sao Paulo, right? 16 or so? Was that it?
Just about, yeah.
So I grew up as a first generation. But so there are parts of America that I love. I mean, I'm proud to be an American. I love America, but I'm coming at it from like an immigrant's direction, or at least the child of an immigrant's direction, where it's, my parents came here because of the classic, it's land of opportunity and do all those things. So like that's where I'm coming from. But then obviously politically, that's a whole other thing that we don't need to be discussing. But I don't know. I just like the idea, like going to sports events. I feel the same way, right? Like you're just with folks who, well, politically too, but like socially and all other ways are not like you. And you're all kind of pulling in the same direction. You're all rooting for the same thing. And what I love most about 4th of July, like there was one experience, my first 4th of July in New York City. We moved there in June of 99, my wife and I, Sarah. Okay. A month later, we found ourselves standing on the FDR. I guess they had blocked it or something. I don't know why we were literally on the FDR with like a ton of other people. It was packed. And it was hot. And that's what I love about this book is like you caught all of that. It was hot. Even at night, it was warm and everybody was like sticky and sweaty, but everyone kind of was happy and fireworks were popping off over the East River. Which is, you were able to catch that so beautifully in the book. I don't know. There's something about 4th of July. I just like hanging out with strangers and we're all for a minute together.
Yeah.
And then, obviously we all go back to our homes, pick up our phones and yell at each other on social media. But for just a couple of hours, it's like we're existing the way we're supposed to be existing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that there's especially with you mentioning that you're a son of immigrants. I mean, the idea of how much that idea of belonging is very complex emotionally for us,
Oh, yeah.
But that there's something really nice about putting that complexity down and having it just be really simple in the moment of, seeing fireworks and admiring that kind of sense of awe. Because, I mean, if you have because there is something to be said about biologically in the way it connects us when we are in awe of something. It really does connect us. And so does comedy, like laughter, like going to a comedy show. There's certain things that really cut through to the differences that we think we have, and I think
tragedy too.
Tragedy as well. Yeah. And I do think that there is, beyond like what the historical significance of 4th of July, I think even the idea of I think it's the pyrotechnics, like the even there's a more primitive sense of belonging and like sense of magic that I think ignites that in us. Totally. That's way more interesting than the political context of what that is,
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I have a really fond memory. Like my recollection of that night is a good one or a happy one. I was telling my wife this morning about it. I was like, hey, I'm going to talk to Cátia Chien about this book that she did. It's fireworks and 4th of July. And gosh, do you remember that great night we had and that first summer in New York City? And we're looking at the fireworks over the East River. God, that was so great. And she was like, oh, it was gross. I was like, wait, what? She goes, oh yeah, I went to reach for your hand and I grabbed a total stranger's hand who was like all sweaty. And then the stranger pulled their hand away from me as if I was trying to rob them. You don't remember that? And I'm like, no. She's like, yeah, it was too many people. So we have very different memories. I guess like a common refrain among many of us who sort of exist on the intersection of creative self-expression and immigration, whether you are an immigrant or first generation or second, or it's just, part of the DNA of your being, is that our families can be more, how do I say this nicely, skeptical of artistic careers. They want to know, to use your words in one of your interviews, where the gold is. How did you, or how are you currently, possibly, navigating that tension between like pursuing a creative life and honoring whatever your family's hopes or plans were for you?
Since I was little, it's an interesting thing because I think that depending on the child, and I feel like, every child comes into the world being kind of themselves and then finding a way, whether or not the family supports who they are and they are in and of themselves already knowing their tendencies and their leanings and the things that they're curious about. And for a long time, since I was little, I would kind of envision myself as an orphan. And it's not that I was necessarily someone who was made to feel like an outsider, but I think there was something in me that was curious about the way that the world felt so big, and yet we had these families that created culture for us. But we know that the culture that they create is not the only culture that there is. There's a lot more out there. And being like a sensitive child, as I was with big feelings, it meant that I also was one to push boundaries and push beyond what I was told and shown. The fantasy of being an orphan, not that I wanted my parents dead, but just the idea of not belonging as a way to belong to oneself, as a way to kind of navigate the world on your own terms, I think was something that actually, when I look back, was a pretty intense feeling that I had. Sure. It wasn't something that surfaced until much later in terms of me being able to put action to that. But I always questioned things that were told to me. And so whether my mom had ideas for me or not, I held it lightly. And it wasn't something that I felt that was my responsibility to carry out necessarily. Although I did feel that I would want to take care of her. And, my dad passed away when I was 9. And her being a single mom, having to care for 3 children, young children, and then immigrating to America. I didn't, realize how hard. I mean, now as a mom, I can see it from a different perspective. But even at the time, I definitely had a sense of filial piety where I thought, whatever I do, I would want to have her be cared for and taken care of. But I didn't necessarily feel that I needed to pursue a career in order for me to be financially viable to do that as a goal. If anything, I saw her unhappiness most of her life as something that I wanted to change in my generation, and realizing that as much as I think security is really good and is something that she always advocated for, it ultimately became very, very clear that safety actually, whether, safety becomes like a thing that it's a burden, and it can form a lot of resentments as well. And I just really, I don't think that I could be persuaded to do anything else. I think I wanted to just follow my own path. Yeah. So she didn't really get in the way per se. She was not like an artistic person. She was really pragmatic. But when I told her I wanted to go to art school, she was confused, but it's okay. I don't think it was the first time she's ever been confused about me. So it's par for the course.
Yeah, for sure. Same in many ways. I spoke with Leo Espinosa about this years ago, about this balancing act between wanting to do your own thing, especially as an artist, and honoring that sacrifice of like your mom coming over, single mom coming over, trying to protect and create that safety for for her children, and my parents coming here for a better life for their kids. And all I wanted to do, I do want to honor that decision with whatever I'm doing. That's where it stops. I don't want my parents, this is me speaking as a teen now, but I wanted to honor the fact that they came here, and I get it and I respect it that they came here for me, but I don't want them to tell me what to do. Let me make my own decisions. So I think that's a dynamic that I find children of immigrants or immigrants themselves kind of deal with or grapple with.
Yeah. I think that it's not the don't tell me what to do for me. I think as much as is in order for the dream that they have to be realized, you do want your children to find their own path in some ways, and even a path that maybe they have no knowledge of. And that's the beauty of having children, is that at some point you have equipped them enough to have enough of the care and security that you have, given them through the years of loving them, to then let go and have them walk their own path and show you what they found out in the world. But it takes a lot of trust. And if the trust is not given, you kind of have to take it, because that's part of actually what in the end will be the thing that they're most proud of, But in the moment, perhaps because of fear and maybe scarcity mind, especially with being someone like my mom who is an immigrant. And I think there is a sense of fear that maybe the world won't receive their child, or, maybe they need to make sure that the guardrails are in place. But at the end, I think that kind of way of living ultimately won't be as, it won't actually, at least I feel, it actually doesn't end up being the thing that they actually want for the child. Because at the end of the day, I think that for me, it didn't take the Caldecott for my mom to feel this way, but the Caldecott definitely helped. But the idea of the idea of just happiness, like having that kind of happiness and financial stability, and being able to own their life in that way. I can't imagine being more proud of a child that can do that. If my son one day, and he will, I will have to let go and just see what he does. And it'll be really amazing to see what happens, but I can't hold on and tell him what to do in the process.
Hi, illustrators. The illustration department's popular summer sale is upon us. From July 1st through July 5th, mentorships, workshops, and portfolio reviews are 15% off. Plus, you can choose to receive a 3-month free trial subscription to my best-selling Substack. To take advantage of this rare sale, visit illustrationdept.com/classes. I hope to see you. I mentor illustrators every day. I've been doing so for 11 years now. This thing that comes up a lot with the illustrators that I talk to, not only are they trying to establish their careers and get the attention of publishing professionals and things, but this other thing that they have to deal with. Here, let me check my notes to make sure I get this right. It's life. They have to deal with life, parenthood included, right? Not just parenthood, but like adult childhood. As adults, we're still children, and now we're, especially folks around my age, having to make sure that our kids are good, and then also make sure that our parents are good, because as they're getting older. But there's also like personal relationships and countless other responsibilities. Like for me at the moment, I feel like I'm being pulled in a lot of different directions. Good directions, but like I have 2 daughters. My daughters are finishing up school, and they have end of year exams, and they're stressed, and they're texting me constantly, like pick me up here and take me here. And I don't know. I guess their bus schedule doesn't align with their life or something. I'm not sure what's going on. But I'm like, you have the bus. Yeah, but the bus is, I'm like, just wait half an hour. It's fine. Trying to help, like my son is locking down a job, and that's a little stressful too, because we're, trying to help him out with like, here's what you say, and here's how you, resumes and things. And then we have elderly parent things to monitor. And my house is a mess by my standards, which is really harshing my vibe at the moment. And that's just like Candyland compared to some of the stories illustrators have shared with me with what's going on with their lives. So what have you learned over the last couple of decades or so about building a sustainable creative life that leaves room for you to exist outside of illustration?
Well, first, I do think that it's really, really hard to even give any kind of, formulaic advice or, to that question, because what I like about mentorships too, because I do mentorships, is that you do get to engage individually with each person, and then engage and then figure out what it is that they're dealing with specifically, and then break down what that, what the steps may be to get to a more, a place of health whatever that looks like for them. Right. To a certain degree, I mean, there's so many factors to why we decide what we decide, and the things that we take on and why we take them on, and how we deal with it in terms of mental health. And I think, so at the time I was working at Nickelodeon, I was in a house with other friends that I graduated from Art Center with, that they graduated earlier than I did. And then we ended up getting a house together. And that was really nice to have that shared sense of togetherness and having a goal, and everyone sharing resources and talking and creating together was really helpful. And so depending on where the person is in their career trajectory, whether they're in the beginning of their career and they're just starting out, like that sense of community is really important. But I think that carries out through, the rest of someone's career. Like I would say now, even though I don't share a studio with anyone, I am constantly talking to people in my industry, whether it's just catching up life or talking and sharing notes on specific industry related, even contract things. You really want to have that connection with the industry people, and not because of networking, but because of friendships and because of really being in it together and be able to navigate with someone that can relate. And I think, so there's that part of, I think, creating balance through connecting with your community. And I think the other part, when it comes to the life part, the personal life part, I think that I used to be able to, be very relaxed and spontaneous, but now I'm really rigid in terms of having everything marked down in the calendar. So really taking, I think, the steps towards organizing one's life to what they need. Because I also feel that with perimenopause, it's a whole other game as well. Yeah. So, we have our off days, and my house is a mess as well. And I think, I have piles and piles of laundry that it's probably just not going to get done until the end of the month. I don't know, but it's just there. And
piles of laundry that is done but not folded.
Okay, I have those too. I have many different piles. Oh yeah, it's like an ongoing issue.
Oh my God, is it ever?
Oh yeah, it's an ongoing issue, and I'm barely able to have time to talk to my husband too. There's a lot of stuff that happens. I think it's just. I don't know that I have any kind of secret to the balance of it all. I think it's just more. I try to keep myself and my nervous system calm. So that's really where I focus my attention. I just focus on my nervous system, keeping it calm while dealing with everything I have to deal with. And then realizing that things take time, and I kind of just stay more, that's not really answering the question in any one way, but it's just, honestly, I think we're all kind of dealing with very similar things.
Yeah. That's why I didn't ask you what your advice was, because you're right. It's hard to say, I advise all illustrators as if they're a monolith to do this, that, and the other thing. And that's how you balance work and life. I've been of late more and more thinking that there is no such thing as a work-life balance. I don't know. I was talking to Luis Mendo about this a couple episodes ago. You carve out time to work, you carve out time to live, but living is part of work and working is part of life. And so I don't know, like, to say a work-life balance is to explicitly separate them into two groups. And I just don't know if that's, and I get what people are saying. I get it. It's like, you don't want to work at the expense of your relationships, at the expense of your health, mental or physical or otherwise. I get that. But I think we spend way too much time worrying too much about finding that balance and not actually putting plans into place to achieve the balance, or making choices and like setting it and forgetting it. Like, I will choose to be more organized. Maybe that's going to help me find my work-life balance. You know what I mean? I do find that a lot with conversations I've been having with illustrators, is they're worried about it, but they don't really, maybe because they don't know what to do about it. And so I suggest to them, like, break your tasks down to much smaller and smaller morsels and just get a little bit done here and there, and you'll find that it all adds up. I think the thing that I learned about building a sustainable creative life is, and balancing that with like time to not be an illustrator or an illustration teacher or anything creative at all, is like learn to do other things. And while you're doing those things, like, not learn to do other things, do other things, whatever that other thing is. It could be doing the laundry. It could be gardening. It could be taking a walk. It could be, going out with friends, like establishing that community, like you said, and not thinking at all about illustration. Like leave it home. Leave it inside. Leave it in your studio.
Well,
wherever you work.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also just to trust that being a human being is part of what feeds into your illustration.
Exactly.
Because so much of your, because I think when people talk about what an artist's voice is, they think it's just style. But I do think that is, maybe not. Maybe people say it's more than style, which is great. But I do think that that's part of your style. It's the way that you fill up your life, and the way that you then cross-pollinate these ideas of who you are into your point of view for your work, and then that becomes the way that you approach your work, and it all feeds into the same place. And I think it is it can be generative that way. So you don't Absolutely. It doesn't have to be so separate, and it doesn't, and you can't even make it separate. I don't think, if you're not healthy in your personal life, it will at some point make your work in your illustration life not sustainable. Absolutely. So you do have to recognize that as much as we like to imagine ourselves outside of our bodies, we really are just like bags of flesh, and we have to take care of ourselves.
That's the title of the podcast episode.
The bags of flesh. Oh, thank you.
Cátia Chien
Finally arrived at the point.
Bags of flesh. We're all just bags of flesh. No, I'm kidding. I don't have
We're
titles.
all going to die. Yeah.
So do what you love.
That's also part of it too, right? Like contemplation of mortality really allows you to just be more free. And I think that's the whole point, is that as much as I think we like to hold on to this title of the artist doing the work, and we have to have a balance, this and that. The fact of it is, if we're all going to die, why not really go out and explore and do things, and then know that it all kind of comes back to your work anyway. But you do have to feed this other part too.
Absolutely. That's what I say to illustrators on a day-to-day basis who are, quote unquote, looking or finding their style. It isn't about medium or technique, although those are challenges. Finding one's style is difficult for myriad reasons, lack of familiarity or confidence in the media of choice, whether it's pencil, paint, digital, whatever, lack of practice with whatever techniques you're using with that medium, a lack of faith that, the work that you do will resonate with others, namely publishing pros. But then there's trends, and then there's bad advice, and then there's all these other things that are, pulling illustrators in different directions creatively or stylistically, right? But you're right, absolutely. What I tell illustrators is, like, beyond choosing whether it doesn't matter if it's watercolor or pencil or scratchboard or digital or whatever, like that's not where you're going to find your style. You're going to find your style by answering basically seemingly simple, but actually kind of hard questions like, what do I like? What is my taste? What is my aesthetic? When I look at other people's work, what is it exactly that I'm responding to? What do I observe about the world around me? What are my ideas? What are my experiences, good or bad? That, I think, is the source of quote unquote style.
Yeah. And I think the same way in which, like, if you wanted to be healthy, you don't necessarily eat processed foods, right? Where someone else like pre-chewed it or something, right? You want to have your own, like you don't want to eat cereal every day.
Mama
like,
bird style.
Right. Even though, your first, you digest it first by chewing your food, and then it goes down that way, and it's healthy. But the idea is that if you are just digesting processed ideas that someone else resolved, and you're looking at the image and thinking, wow, that's really great, and then do some, derive your image from that, you're already looking at processed and then processed further, as opposed to doing like a whole food, right? Which is taking the art that you like and then looking at what influences them, and then peeling it back further and further, so that you can then look at the source, closer to the source of what that is, and then life itself, right? And being able to then transmute that. And if you do that, then you're really, I think, able to then create your own solutions for the problems that come up. And then find that in itself is an act of creating your style, the way that you see things and the way you solve the problem. Maybe even some things that you find to be a weakness, right? Like, someone maybe might think, I'm not really good at drawing faces, but maybe the way you draw faces is interesting and delightful because it's not a solution. It's not the solution that exists out there, And so again, like, I think the temptation is to look at work that already is successful and then want to do that. But actually, I think a much more fun and in the end, I think a much more beneficial path to take is one where you're immersed in the influences that connects you to the things that you're curious about, and then find ways to, it will come through anyway, but find ways to kind of digest those whole ideas and then have you be the sort of the one that creates the solutions, I think.
Right. You're conduit between what you see, what you think, and going down your shoulder, your elbow, to your wrist, to your hand, and onto a page. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
How do you find your style? Look at stuff, think about things, put it on paper.
And also, I think that there is a place for copying and for getting close, looking at artists and stuff. I mean, I think I did a lot of that. And I think there's also, obviously in school, you do master copies and there's the learning with your, there is really a lot of learning and rigor involved in understanding the vocabulary of art, right? Where you understand certain mediums, how to use them, the tools. And then, but then you do at some point, at least for me, I feel like if I were to think about, the different phases of my career, initially it was an attempt to master something, attempt to master painting or whatever it is that I was focusing on. And then at some point it was experimentation. And I think the experimentation phase is where you then are taking the rigor, right, that you now know, the sort of discipline, and then now applying it to creating a new method that is yours, right? But then breaking the rules and all that. I think that's sort of the combination of that and also the digesting of ideas and life, I think becomes like a really good foundation for creating a style.
Would you consider yourself to be a rule breaker?
Definitely.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's like a rebellious thing. I think I'm just not really good at following directions. Like I learned that I really don't like working on biography books because they're so rigid. I feel like maybe part of the reason, I mean, look, I've seen some beautiful biography books, picture books out there that are really inventive and artistic and, but I think even the idea of having
Shimizu's Cat of Aleppo comes to mind.
Oh, definitely. She's a favorite. She's an amazing artist.
Yuko, if you're listening.
Yeah, we love you. But for some reason, I think for me, even the idea of having to make sure there's a likeness, a character likeness, or like, I find it a bit oppressive. I don't really enjoy it. I can do it, but I don't enjoy it. I don't like it.
I'm so happy to hear you say this, Katya.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear you say this all because I tend to refer to you and point illustrators to your work when it comes to all of the stuff that you're just talking about with respect to character. I mean, you break a lot of the rules that I hear from illustrators who hear it from portfolio reviews or conferences or podcasts or wherever they hear it, but they hear it. One of them is don't use different media. You'll confuse art directors. Wrong. So many illustrators that I work with will work digitally, but then they're gravitating towards traditional for various reasons, AI being one of them or something else for whatever reason, all valid. But they stress and they worry that, well, my portfolio is all digital and now I'm going to be working traditional. Isn't that a problem? No, it's not a problem. Or the opposite, also not a problem. If you go traditional and now you want to work digitally, go for it. So that's a rule that you clearly break. And speaking of Scratchboard, I mean, drop that in there because I know you work in Scratchboard. You also, I mean, Fireworks was created with pastel, pencil, Scratchboard, watercolor. Is that watercolor or gouache?
It's no. It's actually it's ink. So watercolor and ink, and then some acrylic. Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha. So that's one of them. Dot eyes. Illustrators are told all the time, don't use dot eyes. You not only use dot eyes in Fireworks, but your character's eye design does change from one page to another, depending on how zoomed in or out we are on the scene. Also, depending on what the character is expressing. Yeah. So that's a rule that you don't follow. There are a lot of no-nos from the illustration advice machine. Yeah. And I'm not talking about Italian grandfathers either. I'm talking about Italian grandfathers. No.
I just see them wagging.
No, that's not. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about no, you can't do this, or no, you can't do this from like folks who are part of the illustration device machine. And you're
of course, I'm imagining like Asian aunties with like sandals.
I mean, same. But okay, vibes.
Same vibe.
Totally. But the other one is like what you just said. Like your characters. Again, I'm sticking to Fireworks, but of course, like there are a lot of books that you've worked on over the years that we can certainly apply this to, where your characters don't follow that traditional like. That sort of Nickelodeon thing where you have to have a certain consistency in the character design on page to page, or else it's off model or whatever. There is none of that in children's books, although people feel like believe that there are. Now, if Bobby has 5 buttons on his shirt on page 5, he needs to have 5 buttons on his shirt on page 10. I get that, but there is something that you do with your character design that I don't often talk about on the podcast, and I really need to talk more about this. Is you don't capture what they look like. You capture what it feels like for them to be in that scene. Yeah. You're capturing what they feel like. And this comes from, I read a passage in Robert Henry's book. I think it's called The Art. I never remember the title exactly. Is it The Art Spirit or The Artist Spirit? I think it's The Art Spirit. But anyway, there's a passage in there. He's talking about drawing the model. Okay. And essentially he's saying, you don't draw what you're looking at. Like there is a model standing in front of you in the studio. You're not drawing the model. You're drawing a person who chose to be a model. You're drawing a person who woke up that morning and decided to disrobe in front of strangers and pose for money. That's what you're drawing. That's what you're trying to capture. And I think that element is what you do so well with all of your books is you're not drawing like a character and making sure they look the same on every page. You're drawing what it feels like to be them in that moment. You've transcended character consistency by applying this like feeling consistency. I'll come up with a better term one of these days. But that's what you're so good at doing throughout all of your books.
I think it's so I can actually point out specifically the moment when I gave myself the permission to do that. And I want to credit an artist that I was looking at because it really just completely blew my mind at the time when I read a book by Brecht Evens. And he's an artist, a Belgian artist that lives in Paris. And he's done many graphic novels, but there's a book that he did called Panther. Okay. When I saw it was when I was working on The Town of Turtle. Okay. And what's amazing about his work in that book, and also, beyond that book, is that in the book, you have this character, a Panther, who is an imaginary character, like basically the imaginary friend of this little girl who's going through a lot of turmoil, and she just lost her cat. And it's pretty dark. I think it was intended for both adults and children, but it does veer towards into the pretty dark subconscious. And in it, you have Panther that comes out of her sense of mourning for her cat. And then this character comes out, and it's a fully like honestly, there are moments when it feels like a horror film a little bit, because you have this character, a Panther, that has this teeth and it's quite dangerous, and you can tell that the Panther probably feels really hungry. There are moments where you think, oh, is this cat going to eat her and hurt her? But anyway, the point that I wanted to tie back to what you were saying is that Panter's character model changes depending on the way that Panter is feeling and the make-believe world that he's creating with her.
I'm putting a link to the book in the show notes. It's Brecht Evens, BRECHTEVENS. I'll have a link to that in the show notes because I think I'm looking at it right now on my phone and holy mackerel.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right. Not familiar with this artist or this book. I have homework to do. Nice. I want illustrators listening to this to feel fully free, to use a word you used earlier, to explore however they want to explore their character designs, their environment designs, their storytelling, their emotional conveyance, like the media they use, the techniques they use, like do it the way you feel like makes the most sense. Allow yourself that permission to just express how you want to express. Then that's like a quicker way to getting to your true self as an artist. Like these rules, yeah, they can be used as guidelines and stuff, but what I find they often do is they're just speed bumps. They just get in the way. Plus, like if you break all the rules, maybe you too can, win a Caldecott, a couple gold medals from the Society, New York Times honor.
Or not. Or you can follow the rules if that's what you want to do. I think that you just have to really find that the path is yours to make what you want of it, Exactly. And there isn't anything cool, like it's not that it's cooler to break the rules and so do it, it's actually not, and it's not that breaking the rules is a way to get to the truth of who you are. I think sometimes there are work that's being made within rules that's quite beautiful, and there's a place for that too. And I think, and of course, like you get into the trouble of like, what are you actually saying then? Everything, nothing. But I think I think
welcome to my life.
But I think it's really important to also say that, as we talk about work in this more defined way, because we're talking about my work in this way, it doesn't mean that work is it's in any way the way that something should be done. I mean, I want more voices in the mix. I want others to find a new path and if anything, I think it's more about innovation. Really thinking in a way that's innovative to you. And what is the most innovative thing is to be unique to you, who you are. And so really follow your own path. I mean, even, changing the character and all that, like that's just what felt true to me. I've been looking for that. And obviously that's the reason why, Brecht Evens' work like resonated with me, because I've been pushing in that direction anyway. And to find something that affirms it really kind of cemented it for me. But if it wasn't that way, I would think it's wrong. I would think, oh, that's not. And that's why it doesn't work for everybody, but it doesn't have to.
Yeah. The point I'm trying to make is whatever works for you should be what you do. And if that means rules, great. No rules, great. Half and half, great. Whatever works for you is what you should do. That's it. Mm-hmm. There's no one way to work. Case in point, is it true that you start every picture book project by visiting the art store and just kind of seeing which materials you want to use?
Yeah, it is. I started that maybe like after the Town of Turtle. I started that. And I wonder if that's just the way that most people do it. For me, I think it's, How do you do it? Do you do that?
No, I try to stick to, I've been oil painting for 30 years and I don't have any plans on changing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. My materials list is short. Oil paints, pencils, colored pencils, charcoal, pen and ink. I like to stick with the classics.
Okay.
So I'm always looking for like the best brush, the best pen, and still haven't found any of that. And it's been a 30-year search.
You haven't found the best brush?
I'll find a brush. I'll be like, oh, this is it. And then use it. Nothing's really changed. Like, I think what I'm looking for is that like last key to unlock who I really am as a painter. Mm-hmm. And that's, I guess, what I'm trying to say with like style is it's not the medium. It's not the brush. But I still look for it. I'm like, maybe it's this brush that will be the key to unlock everything. But it's not the brush. It's the me. You know, I've been painting for 30 years, and I can't with confidence say what kind of painter I am or what my quote unquote style is. And I think that's the problem. Not the problem, but if I'm being honest, it's just because I haven't really like taken that deep reflective dive into the me pool. Instead, I'm just going to go and be like, maybe it's this pen. Let me go to the store and buy another pen. It's not the pen, dude. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with this.
Yeah. Sometimes it is a pen. Sometimes it's okay to search for the right tool that you need for the job, you know? But I do understand what you mean about avoidance, you know? Sometimes it's avoiding the bigger questions to try to focus on just the tool and the physical. Yeah, I think that there's like a sense of play to go to the art store first and to kind of try different mediums and play and then experiment, and then to kind of allow for there to be surprises and for me to kind of sidestep the part of me that is like this technician who wants to just apply the things that I already know. Right. I kind of want to kind of open the side door so that I can continue to grow. And I feel like it's hard for me if I use one medium because I would get better and better and better at that. It starts to become harder and harder to surprise myself with the medium. Yeah. I wonder if that's what you're looking for when you're finding that you want that new brush, because you're maybe wanting to throw like something in the perfectly curated studio, like something new that then you have to kind of push up against, you know, some sort of tension point.
That sounds beautiful, but it's procrastination.
Yeah.
I could sit down for 30 minutes and draw, or I could drive to the art store and back, and that's 30 minutes. I know what I'll do.
Oh, gosh. Procrastinate work?
Oh, yeah. I mean, similar. I mean, let's not get into procrastination. We'll be here all day. There's one thing I did want to, God, you said nervous system about half an hour ago, and there's like a tension in my brain that just keeps nudging me toward like asking you a question about that. So I think I'm going to ask you a question about that.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with it. The pronunciation is going to be off, I'm sure, but it's called the Zeigarnik effect.
No. What is that?
It's your brain will push forward any unfinished tasks, causing attention. Not attention as in pay attention, as causing a tension. And the more tasks you have, the more tension is created, and that leads to procrastination, headaches, like physical effects.
That's interesting.
It's why we procrastinate. It's why cliffhangers work, because our brains are like, what happens next? What happens now? You got to figure it out. Don't you want to solve that problem right now? It's why when we have a long list of tasks to do, we often will fall into like not numbness. What's the word I'm looking for? Like when you have so much to do, you don't do any of it. The way to break the Zeigarnik, I should look this up. Should I look this up on my phone?
Yeah.
Let me look it up on my phone.
Is it Zeigarnik? What did you say?
It's Zeigarnik. It's named after a doctor.
Okay.
The Zeigarnik. Almost. The Zeigarnik effect.
Zeigarnik, yeah.
The Zeigarnik. Zeigarnik.
Right.
Effect. I talk about it enough. You'd think I'd pronounce it correctly by now. But anyway, my point is, you said nervous system, and the Zeigarnik thing is happening in my brain where I'm like, you should ask her about that. Ask her about that. I have a really trigger-happy nervous system.
Okay.
It goes from like calm to hyper-stressed at a drop of a hat. Many, many triggers, which we won't get into. So I do things like yoga and exercise and running and breathing and all these things to keep my nervous system from freaking. Because I've been there where the nervous system has gone on like absolute hyperdrive freak out, and that caused like shakes, physical shakes for a while. So why is your nervous system, is there something going on with your nervous system that you need to take care of? Like, how do I ask this question?
No, I think it's a really good question, because you're really talking about why we're speaking about nervous system when we're talking about the creative process and about balance. And
thank you. Thanks, you, Katya. All right.
Yeah. And I think that's first, I think it's really important to, as I said before about the bags of flesh, right? We're as human beings.
You just can't get off that.
I can't. I know. It's just that's what I have with the Zygarnik. That's a point that I keep pushing forward. But the idea that we are, we often as artists, we can feel capable to override that system in order to do the work and push through. But I feel that it is better to actually be with a balanced nervous system, a balanced body in order to actually do the best work. And I think it is not always possible because, we all have our stressors, and obviously if you are a parent with little children or even older children, there are so many things you're balancing. But I really love the idea that when you have a calm nervous system, then you're in a probability state where you're really open to the possibility of something happening. You're able to be flexible. And I think we've all had instances where we have examples of, I should say, where when we're in fear, what do we want to do? We want to control, and we contract. Our bodies contract because we want to control. And then we end up really going back to the same solutions because we want the thing to work. We want to get the result. Now, I think that as in life, I think art, at least my process is, and for better or worse, I am someone who really loves uncertainty, and I love diving into the unknown and figuring things out and learning something in the process. And for me to be able to do that, I have to calm my nervous system. I have to be able to give myself the mental security of understanding that on the other side of it, something's going to come out of that, whatever that is. Just that allows me to also be more connected to when something does work emotionally, and I can really feel that, and I'm not conjuring up with a projection or a fear or a forcing of. I can feel it in my body. That feels like I'm capturing something that it's, that someone else will probably feel, or hopefully will feel. But that's only possible if I'm not in fear and I'm not, shutting down my system. I'm able to kind of, sense that. And I think for health reasons too, I think it's really important to do that. Mm-hmm. And that takes a little bit of endurance, I think.
Yeah. When you got the call for the Caldecott, where were you and how did it go?
Oh, the Caldecott call?
Yeah.
Is that
capital T, capital C, capital C?
I know. I wonder, you have a lot of Caldecott medalists on this show. Yeah. And I remember listening to Sophie Blackon. She pushed back on you for asking her that question, which is so interesting. But you keep asking the question.
Because I find it interesting. Once it ceases to become interesting, I will stop asking the question. But I think
people want to know.
I don't know.
Okay.
Unless you say it was I answered the phone. They said, you won the Caldecott. I said, thank you, and hung up. Then, okay. Then maybe I'll cut that out.
Yeah. I'll just make it quick then too, which is that my son was celebrating his birthday. We're celebrating my son's birthday, I should say. And coming out of a bowling alley, and we're in the parking lot, and I got the call. My husband kind of was... he's a cinematographer, but also he pivoted now. So he's not working in cinematography anymore. But anyway, he ended up capturing it on his phone secretly while I sat on the curb and took the call and started crying. But that's how it happened, outside in a parking lot of a bowling alley.
Of course that's how it happened. That's why I asked the question, Katya.
Yeah.
Because every answer is basically Mad Libs.
Yeah, because you never know when you're going to get the call or if you're going to get the call.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
you could be walking your dog outside at 5 o'clock in the morning, Rudy Gutierrez. You could be literally taking a shower, Javaka Steptoe.
Yeah.
You can think it's a joke, Betsy Lewin. There's a lot of other really great answers. Seemingly they're drunk or something. I can't remember who said that. Somebody said they were drunk when they called. So we have folks who are illustrators, writers, people who, maybe like after this chat, they're like, dang it, I'm going to give myself permission to be as free as possible with my work and follow some rules, but not others, and listen to some advice and maybe some others, and find that balancing act between life and art and all these things. What would be one piece of advice or word of wisdom or one thing you've learned over the years that you'd like to share with them directly?
Okay, one piece of advice for them, and I should have been prepared because you ask every guest this question, and I thought that I might arrive at something at the end of it. Because I was like, you know what? We're going to have this conversation. Something's going to arise from that, and then I'll pull something from it. But we talked about so many different things, and I feel like it's annoying to tell somebody, "Hey, just be free with your work," right? Like that's super annoying. You don't want to be that person that's like, "Hey, man, just be free," and they're like, "What?" Right. I'm trying to
If someone said that to me, I'd be like, "I am being free. I'm still not getting work."
Yeah, like what do you mean?
I know.
Like,
That's the one thing I hate about that.
Or they, or like the thing is like, it's so open-ended. It's like, what does that even mean?
Or like that, one of the best pieces of advice is just keep going. It is a very good piece of advice, but what if the person doesn't even know if they're going in the right direction? Like, I know. Sure, I guess I'll just keep going, I guess.
And then go off exactly.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So
I know. Yeah, exactly. So
do a good job with this one, Cátia.
Now I'm like,
sorry, no pressure.
Yeah. I want to go back to a very, very basic thing that I think we can all use, which beyond just saying, be free with your work, because, honestly, that's something that even at, there are days that everybody struggles with that. I mean, what is that anyway? So I think beyond that, I would say have a sense of what you're going to do each day prior to your day starting is really important for me. And I would say that has really changed my level of focus and my ability to have trust that whatever happens, I will be able to allocate the right amount of time to the different tasks that I have ahead of me. And although that is a boring thing to even like suggest that that's the advice that anyone needs to have, but I think it's maybe a reminder, an insistence that there is a place for that, because I was someone who really loved spontaneity. I love to just hold it in my head and think that I can achieve it. It's fine. But at some point I had an Excel, I have a spreadsheet that I use online that I just type out all the things that I have to do so that I don't have to remember anything. That's the rule, is that you don't try to figure out a system where you don't have to keep anything in your head, right? Emptying your head on a piece of paper, whatever that is, online, some sort of note-taking thing. I use a spreadsheet and I put down everything that I have to do. And each night I go through it and I put high, as in like it has to be done that day, or medium or low importance, or no priority, meaning I haven't assigned it yet. And I might assign it later, but maybe that day I don't have time. And that's how I do it. That's literally how I do every day. And that allows me to also like put down like how much time I'm going to have for each thing. I know it's really just like, I can't believe I'm giving like advice about like creating a spreadsheet, but honestly, it's been really amazing. I know, but it starts with that. And then everything else, I think, will free your mind to be able to daydream about your work and be able to have spontaneous moments, because now you have the to-do list and you can free. So that's a path towards freedom.
To learn more about Cátia, visit CátiaChien.com. If you find value in this podcast, consider becoming a patron. In return, you can access bonus episodes, receive invitations to our Art Directors After Hours series, and get a 10% off discount code for all ID offerings. Become a patron by visiting patreon.com/illustrationdept. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.